Good morning. So you know how you got to know your strengths and weaknesses? Well, I know my strengths, and we'll save that for another meeting. But I also know my weaknesses, and that's why I brought my experts along. I'm not great when it comes to some of the first-time homebuyer programs. And just make sure, obviously, I'm hoping, and most of you are working with me, but if you do have another mortgage professional that you're working with, and you ask them the question, do you do first-time homebuyer programs, make sure they actually do them. Make sure they don't tell you, I do them all the time, and then they don't, because they're not easy. They're really, really difficult to do. So, but there's some really good ones out there. So I brought along Cynthia. She's one of my loan officers, and her loan partner, Amanda, and they do a ton of both Cheona and the bond program. So here, I'm going to let you sit here. So I'm going to let Cyn and Amanda take over. I will tell you one thing real quick, though, before we jump into this. Both of them have been with me for a while, and they're amazing. And Cyn's, one thing I wanted to offer you guys, so Cyn and her husband both have a background in what's the right? Private security. In fact, her husband was a personal bodyguard for a very famous golfer. I'm not allowed to say his name. That lived here in Iowa.
Did he smash his car into a tree?
He may or may not have been, hit a tree. So we would like to offer you guys a
private security.
Yes.
Perfect.
Security, how to be safe as a realtor class that we're going to put together for you guys. All right.
That's amazing.
And we're also going to partner. We're going to partner with the other partners of the Heisler Team, and put together a concealed weapon class as well. And we're actually going to sponsor for you guys.
Hell yeah, I need to.
All right. So without further ado, Sid and Amanda, it's all yours.
Thank you, Laurence. Hey guys. So today we're going to talk about Cheona and how we got into Cheona. I was in real estate for many, many years. Just a little background on me. I was in real estate for many years. Got out of real estate, got into private security because real estate can drive you crazy. So I needed a break. Got out and was called back to meet with someone who I was going to do some charity work with. And he actually owned a mortgage company and asked me to come aboard. And I was like, nope, I'm not doing it. I'm not getting back into real estate. You can't pull me back in. And yep, here I am, back in real estate. So the reason I got back into real estate is I wanted to be the helper in the community. I wanted to do charity work. I wanted to be able to help. And I realized that I can help people. I can help people get into mortgages. And I can help them understand the process more than I understood the process when I purchased a house. And I can help them by learning the programs that a lot of people don't want to do because it is a lot of work. Cheona is literally 2 loans. So we're doing double the work to get people down payment assistance. But because we're able to help people get into homes that wouldn't be able to get into homes, we're willing to do that work to help them get through. The first thing I want to say is it's not a rescue program. So Cheona is not a rescue. If they don't qualify for a mortgage, they're probably not going to qualify for Cheona, but that doesn't mean we can't get them there. We have a lot of programs that allow us to get them to up their credit or anything. This is just their down payment assistance. The way that it works is Cheona has a bunch of different programs, and we're big picture. So me and Amanda will take all the information, put everything together, and try to look at the big picture and see which program fits them best. Do they have a lower credit score? Is their income too high for some of them? Because some people are making $120,000 a year and they still don't have money for a down payment, which we're like, but we don't, people's expenses are people's expenses. Sometimes they just got the job. So if they've just gotten the job, let's say when they went through nursing school, they just got this really great job. They're making the money, but they just didn't have it a year ago. And now we're going to get them into the program. We can get them into the program. They can have just started their job as a nurse, and they can still get the down payment assistance because they qualify. So that's one of the options that we do. The way that it works is there's a soft second, which means they close on their loan, they start paying their mortgage, They pay their mortgage for 36 months, and in 36 months, as long as they've made those payments on time for 36 months, that soft second goes away. They never have to repay that down payment assistance program. So it's free money, which if it's free, it's for me. I like free money. So basically, just for paying their mortgage on time for 36 months, it's forgiven and it goes away. The other programs are, we have a rate advantage program, which is a better rate than you would get for, it's more like an FHA. So it's more like your rates for an FHA. And those programs you do have to pay back, but you can pay them back in 10 years or 30 years. So it just, again, depends on how much they want to pay each month and if we can get them in their ballpark of where they need to be as far as payment wise. Because our big thing, and I know Laurence's big thing is we don't try to sell rate, we try to get them on a payment. We want to know what they can afford to pay, because just because they want a $400,000 house doesn't mean they can afford the payment that goes along with that $400,000 house. We do 3% and 5% for conventional loans for down payment assistance. So if they need a little bit of help, we'll do the 3% down to first time home buyers. If they need a little bit more help, we do the 5% down, and they can do 3% towards down payment, and the other 2% can go towards closing costs or whatever they need. FHA, we do the 3.5%, but we also offer a 5% on FHA. So again, it's what would they qualify for, what do they need, and what's going to help them get into the house. Because each of those obviously is going to come with a different payment to repay it. We've had people close, and you guys are out there fighting the fight to try to get them into these houses. And I know with FHA, it's kind of difficult. Some people don't want to take those FHA mortgages, but Laurence does a really great job calling and letting them know that they are qualified and they are going to close. With a Cheona, you don't have to be upfront and say, hey, listen, it's a down payment assistance. That doesn't go anywhere on anything. So that's all done in the background so that the listing agent doesn't have to know, hey, they're getting down payment assistance. Because sometimes they're like, oh, I'm not going to do it. They're not going to have enough money to close, but they do. So we try to make sure that everyone has the money to close and we're ready to go. Some of the agents that we've worked with before, we've closed tons of Cheonas since we just brought it on about 8 months ago. We've been going crazy with them. But they're able to get seller credits. Some of our clients have closed and got money back from their escrow at closing, or they've come with as little as $276 to closing. We just had one close.
He didn't go to closing. He forgot.
Technically, he forgot the money.
And they still gave him the keys.
And they still gave him the keys.
Oh, wow.
He forgot the $276 and they still gave him the keys. And I was like, do you have the keys? He's like, yeah, they gave me the keys. I was like, oh, that's good. He's like, but they said that I just have to bring it back. And I was like, oh, good. Handshake deal. Got it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's how that works.
In this
I was like, we don't do that. But we try to get them to fit into their budget, and we try to lower their closing costs so that they can purchase the house, get in there, and not be house poor once they do get into the house. The rate advantage, what do we have? The conventional, we have the FHA, and then we also are doing bond. So if they don't qualify for Cheona, or they would qualify for bond and bond would work better for them, bond will give them $7,500 or $10,000 towards closing costs. So that's another program that we're working. So again, we're doing big picture, let's look at everything and then try to figure out where your client falls in that, so that we can help you guys close more deals and we can get them to close it more comfortably without being strapped or waiting 6 months or a year so they can save the funds. Because we all know that people try to save the money and then something happens and they went to spend it because they needed a tire for their car, or something got behind, or their child got sick and they had to take them to the hospital, or something else happened. So we try to avoid that, get them into the house, and then they can repay it. Any questions?
Your FHA, what's the difference with the down payment assistance with the 3.5% and 5%? Why would you just do the 3.5%?
You would do the 3.5 if they have, if they don't need money to cover closing costs.
Okay.
So if they need money to cover closing costs, we would go the 5%.
Okay.
We do normally do the 3.5.
Which success strategies are, because we're sitting here talking about how to get offers accepted and best strategies to do that. And if I get an offer and I see down payment assistance,
You don't see that.
okay,
Yeah.
It's not on the offer.
Yeah,
all
you
right.
don't bring it up, the listing agent doesn't know about it, it's between you, the
Yeah.
buyer, and us.
And there's not, it's like back in the day, there used to be two sets of underwriting. When we would typically get like a down payment assistance letter attached to the contract that they're getting $10,000 or $20,000, and it would go to your underwriters, then it had to go then to the county's underwriters. That's already done ahead of time.
Yeah, we do it all in-house. So everything goes in-house, everything gets approved. The only difference between closing Cheona and closing an FHA loan is that I can't send out the initial CD until I have a clear to close. So that's the only thing. So on Cheona's, we like to get an extra 3 to 5 days because of that, because that clear to close, they will not send out that initial CD. Cheona will not allow us to. But everything else is done in-house and everything else is done the exact same. It won't be any different for you. So for you guys, if you guys are putting in a loan, an application with your buyers, it's not anything different for you. There's nothing on the contract. There's no extra paperwork for you guys. It's literally us in the background making sure that they have the funds to close. And the listing agent, the seller, no one will know because it's done in the background and it's literally a second loan that goes behind it. The only thing that changes is there's a couple more pages to sign and close.
And are the listing agents shocked when they, we're not sitting at the same closing table anymore, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
They have never known.
Okay.
We have never gone to it where they've never asked. So when Laurence will call, and when we call our listing agents, that's not something that we mention.
Okay.
We say that they're very qualified. We've checked assets. They have the funds to close because we know that if we've approved it for a Cheona, it's getting approved for the Cheona and they're going to qualify.
Okay.
So we haven't had the issue where we've had to call and say, hey, so by the way, if we approve it, it's going to get approved. The only thing that's different between an FHA and the Cheona is we really want to have that 640 credit score. And the reason is we can go off of FHA guidelines with that 640 credit score. If they're down to a 620, we can do it. They scrutinize the file a lot more. And then their debt to income can't be as high if they're at that 620.
So what are we checking on the contract? Are we checking FHA or conventional? If this
FHA.
is-
Unless it's a conventional. There is a Cheona conventional. So if they qualify to go conventional, then we can go conventional. But that's all dependent on their credit. Really, credit is the big, and their DTI. Because if they're a teacher, the biggest problems that we see with DTI and the reason that a lot of people, even if they have a really high credit score, want to go FHA is because they're a nurse and they just started and they're just not making that money yet. They're a teacher or they're a police officer. Oh, good Lord. We have 3 police officers right now that we're working with, and just their debt to income is just, it's sad. It's sad.
When you say the extra 3 to 5 days, you mean like past, like if we're doing a standard 30-day close, would you suggest a 33, 35? Is that what you mean? Or
Yeah, I would suggest, 33, 35. It depends on how it falls. So we just want to give ourselves just a little bit extra time to get that clear to close. We know on our end that we're going to push it and we're going to keep pushing it until we get that clear to close.
I'm the annoying one that keeps calling the borrower and is like, listen, like I had to get stern to one. I'm like, if you want this house, you need to send me this stuff today by 3 p.m. or you're losing the house. Was that true? Kind of.
Sometimes you need to know.
Like, she was just not giving me what I needed, and it's like I need.
Well,
the
some people like to,
information, so.
they don't want to give it to me.
Yeah, because they may have spent $2,500 at
ABC.
What's the education?
It seems like you have a certain instance you're thinking of there.
Yeah, just so you guys understand, we have to send out an initial closing disclosure at least 3 days prior to closing. They cannot close inside of that 3 days. So if they are not disclosed and they have to acknowledge that disclosure, then we're not closing 3 days later. Normally, on a normal loan with us, we can send that closing disclosure out as soon as we have a loan approval. Doesn't have to be cleared to close, just needs to be approved with underwriting, and then we can send that initial closing disclosure out. But with Cheona, they have to wait until it's cleared to close. That's why there's a few extra days there.
With Cheona, because I'm the document person for the most part, I know that underwriting does look at it longer. It's with them a little bit longer just because they are asking for help. So they want to make sure that they really need help. So they're checking through everything. So I know on my end, I need to be quick getting everything, which is why I will get on our borrowers' behinds and be like, listen, you need to get me this. If you want to, especially if you want to close on time, not just close it all on time. Give me this stuff immediately so I can get it into underwriting because it is going to take them a little longer to look at it. Also because it's 2 loans. So they have to look at, they'll have the FHA or the conventional loan, and then the one that's piggybacked onto it is the Cheona loan. So it is all done in-house, but it will take a little bit longer because the underwriter has 2 files to go through. So we know that ahead of time, so we're very quick with getting all the documents, getting it in so that we're on time closing.
They caught us on the first one.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, they caught us on the first one.
Yeah.
We were like, you need to
that's
send the initial CD out. They're like, you don't send it out until you get the clear close. I was like, someone should have told me.
What additional documentation is required through this opposed to just, none? Okay.
It's just us doing our due diligence in the front. As long as they qualify, they qualify.
Okay, cool.
So if they qualify for an FHA, as long as they have that 640 or above credit score, we can get them through.
So what would you recommend, like, as far as it goes from like the buyer's perspective, how would we best advise them to start with the program, to reach out to you guys to see where they kind of fall within
Yeah, so-
it, and then do they get an approval letter, then we start writing offers, because
Yes.
God forbid, I'm not sure if I'm correct on this, but if they don't have that approval for Cheona, then they're responsible for whatever they put on the contract, say if it's accepted, yes or no?
It's not a different approval. So if they're approved, they're approved, they're good. So if they have the pre-approval, then they've been qualified. We're doing that on the back end. If we're saying they don't need extra assets to close, it means that we already know that they have the assets, which means to you, you don't have to do anything different. So if you have someone that needs down payment assistance, you send them to us, and it would just be like any other thing. The only difference is that we know they're getting that 3.5%. So when we put it into our system, we're adding that 3.5% to their assets. So we can tell you, hey, they're they're getting the 3.5%, but they may need 1% because they don't have closing costs, or they need to save up to get closing costs. So it's kind of that, but nothing goes on the pre-approval. So when I say nobody knows, it's like our little secret.
What's the education they have to go through?
It's just the home buyer's course.
And they get that done before they get the approval.
No, they can get that done before
They
closing.
just need it before the.
How long is the class started, if you mentioned?
30 minutes.
Oh.
It's online.
It depends on how much they want to read it. If they click through it, then it's really quick. If they go and they're reading it, it's probably like 4 hours.
Okay.
Are there any income or asset limits with this
That's a
program?
good question.
There are income limits. So there's different programs. So Cheona in itself has different programs, and that's why we're very big picture. So when we're qualifying their assets and they're qualifying their income, we try to figure out where they're going to fit. The problem is that when we hit someone like the one we just did, where they're like $6,000 over, to not have to pay it back, and now we have to tell them that they have to pay it back. But again, we worked with it and ended up getting her payment around the same, so she didn't really care. She needed the money. But there are income caps, and it just depends on which program. And there are some that have 0 income caps, so they can still get the 3 or 5% or the 3.5%.
Can you give us the range between all programs?
It depends on, it's the median income for the area. So it's like, one of them is 115, the other one is 135, and the other one has no cap.
Got it.
So we just try to figure it out. And then if, let's say we send it into the underwriter and they're like, oh, their income is such and such, and we use that income. Weird, when we send them in for Cheona, they're like, oh, we actually have to count this other income that they wouldn't let me count before. They're gonna go ahead and count it. But again, it was a learning curve with our first two.
Sure.
And now we've got it under control.
Are they taking just whoever's on the loan, their income, or are they using household income?
Who's on the loan?
I know like
Ask that too.
the old bond programs, it would be like if it's a family of 4 and don't count exact incomes, it was 30 to 35,000. If it was a family of 5, 35 to 40, family of 6, 40 to 45, family of 8.
Yeah, we go to the
55.
county. So there's
Okay.
guidelines. So Cheona has the guidelines listed. We go to the county and we just check the county, and then we figure out what the income is
Okay.
for that, and to see if they fall into it. And again, there are some that have no income limits.
Okay.
So it's just the soft
The county
second.
doesn't have the income limit, or Cheona does?
Cheona does not have it.
Okay. So they
So
don't have like the count, like the way the county does with the bond program.
some of the programs do, yes.
Okay.
Cheona is like an umbrella, so they have different programs. One of them, no limits at all.
Got it, sorry.
So you could go up to, we had one that was $130-something thousand, $130-something thousand a year, still qualified for the down payment assistance program. Then you have ones that if they make less, they can do the down payment assistance program and they'll do the soft second. So they don't ever have to pay it back.
Okay.
So again, we just look at what's best for the client and what's going to get them where they need to be, which is closed on the home.
What about asset limits?
Yes.
None. No, we have one that actually had a lot of assets in the bank and still wanted to do down payment assistance just because they didn't want to. Those assets were earmarked somewhere else and they didn't care. I thought it was going to be a problem because I was like, oh, you already have the money in the bank. I don't know how they're going to give you money, but
You have it, but we want to borrow it from somewhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever, it's there to use.
Right.
So, what is the success ratio you guys are seeing with, and it's more on your agents that have done the program, like how many offers are you writing to get one to stick?
Actually, we haven't had a lot of problems. We haven't had any with Cheona at all. They put in the offer, we call. Normally, the last one we called, the lady didn't even have the offer. I said, you got it. It was at 10:30 last night. It would have come in. It's from Tiss. I need you to, she goes, I don't have any offers. And I was like, no offers? Your listing went live and you have no offers. I'm scared. And so she sat there and she went to her computer and she looked it up, and I talked to her and I let her know that they were qualified and everything that we've done, and that we get it pre-underwritten. And we haven't had a problem getting our offers accepted. The only issue that we've had right now is we have a VA. And VA does not fall under Cheona, so we do not do
There's
VA
really
with
no
Cheona.
talking.
But
Just close.
some people want the closing costs.
Yeah.
But he has canceled every contract. He's gotten
He
4.
said, no, I thought it was more.
Oh, I'm sorry, 8.
Yeah, this was his 8th offer accepted that he's not getting. Yay!
Did they get rid of him yet or no?
She's about to.
Yeah.
That just gives a bad name though for any veteran that's trying.
Oh, yeah.
That seller, that agent can be like, I don't wanna be.
I oversold your story to get your contract accepted, and now you're canceling, and you're constantly doing it.
Yeah.
No.
So would you guys say, Cheona would be the number one choice for somebody that's looking for down payment assistance?
Yes.
So, and then number 2 would be bond?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
You
if they
guys also
qualify.
do bond, right?
Yeah, we do bond. And that's, again, that's us trying to figure out where, if they qualify for bond, then we'll go bond. If they qualify for Cheona, then we'll go Cheona. Bond is a little bit harder, a little bit, the guidelines are a little bit stricter. And we're also learning SHIP, which is a new one for us, not new, but new for us. And that's because we've seen a lot of houses that our buyers are looking at, and it says must be SHIP, must qualify for SHIP. So we're learning that one too, because we're just trying to make sure that we have all the tools in our toolkit.
The listing says must qualify for SHIP before they'll even look at anything?
Yeah.
Is it a county house or?
It's up in DeLand, and it's been on the market for 165 days, and it looks,
They will only sell it to a bond buyer,
yeah.
which is good, but, why, who owns it?
Yeah, who's the seller or something like
I don't
that?
know.
Yeah, it's gotta be the county doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something we're just diving into, so
Okay.
just because we had that issue where someone was looking at, they wanted to look at it, and they couldn't.
Yeah,
They're like, we don't have, and I was like, shit,
Let's
okay,
learn this.
let's
Yeah.
do this. We can do it.
Especially in this market, what we're trying to do is learn all the programs that we can to get those borrowers under contract and out. Because you guys know, the market's freaking nuts right now.
yeah, that's why I always question these programs, you know, is it even viable to even try and market or shoot right now? Because we'll have it, I mean, if I put an ad out right now for down payment assistance, we're gonna have a shit ton of traffic.
Right.
And, you know,
That we can't,
but,
that we can't get houses. for.
yeah, we can't get houses for is the other challenge, and then, so if we're putting offers in with, 5% down conventional, great, well, I had other offers at 25% down, but, it's like, how do we upsell those? And I mean, like, what are they doing with the appraisals and stuff on these?
Same.
It's just standard FHA conventional appraisal,
Yep.
has nothing to do with the bond or anything, okay?
No, Cheona is exactly the same.
Are
It
you
doesn't
able
change.
to offer any sort of appraisal gaps or waivers with these offers?
Usually not, because they don't have the money.
Okay.
If they have the money and they're
To
using
come out.
this
For down
to
payment, then they
to
can-
bridge the gap, then yes, if they have the money. We had one that wanted to go in $5,000 over, and she had the money.
Okay,
So she was able to do that, but
so it's part of the education.
Yeah.
It's part of the buyer.
Circumstantial based off the buyers and so.
And we'll even, once we talk to the buyer, we'll usually give you guys a call back and be like, hey, this is their situation. Yes, they're qualified for Cheona, they're gonna get the down payment. They need that extra help from closing costs. They can't do appraisal, they don't have the money if it comes under. And we'll just let you guys know so that you're not wasting your time.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Because that's a big thing right now too. We don't wanna waste your time, we don't want our time wasted, we don't wanna waste the buyer's time either. So just making every party aware of what's
What's-
going on.
condition on properties, it's really just, as
Same
long as it
as
clears the
a
appraisal,
Pass FHA appraisal.
FHA appraisal.
okay, which is like anything.
Right.
So you can do this with the 97% conventional too, right? All right, so we have a 97% conventional first-time home buyer program. Both Fannie and Freddie has it. So if you couple that with a 5% Cheona, then you've got your 3% down payment plus an extra 2% to cover closing costs.
Correct.
And the closing costs usually run 2 to 3%, right? Depending on the sales price. So you literally can get somebody into the house without anything out of pocket.
Yep.
What price range are you guys seeing these contracts at?
Anywhere from, I think our lowest was 160. 160 up to 300. Yeah, I don't think that, once we go over that, they can, but once we go over that,
It's a different buyer pool.
yeah.
And what property types does it work with?
With the FHA, it has to be FHA approved. So if it's not gonna pass an FHA, it's not condo approved for FHA, or it will not do mobile homes,
No.
manufactured homes, none of that. They will not at all. But other than that, we haven't had any problems. Townhouses, single family homes. We've
Townhouse
done-
homes, I think simple.
Mhm.
So they'll like manufactured, like what they do modulars. So anything that's been put together in factory.
Site built, has to be site built.
Okay.
To be honest with you, those are hard to pass FHA inspections as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's why they're just like, they
We-
know they're better.
Like Palm Harbor is, they're a modular build, but they're considered single family once they're on the property.
I can ask
If
that.
it's on like
If
stem
the
wall or something.
taxes say single family,
Yeah.
usually that's what they go off.
Okay,
Usually they'll let us slide it through.
okay,
But if it says modular or manufactured or mobile,
yeah.
they're not.
We just went through that a couple properties trying to find license tags and other stuff.
So just to make sure, you're saying like, if the buyer is using a conventional loan, still like the property has to be FHA like
No.
standard?
No, if it's conventional, it just has to pass the regular conventional appraisal.
Oh,
So
But if you're going
everything-
FHA,
Everything's the same. So if you're putting a conventional offer in, you're gonna write the contract for conventional, everything's gonna be conventional. The listing agent, the seller is not gonna know they're getting down payment assistance. Same with FHA. Everything on the contract is gonna be the same as if you're writing an FHA for someone who has the money. Again, nobody else will know that they're getting down payment assistance.
everything's the same for you guys. Just in the background, we're doing it.
So what's the best way to bring attention to this to the market then to attract a buyer pool, just like host a first time buyer seminar or?
First time home buyers, we're doing a first time home buyer seminar every month. First time home buyers are great for this. You don't want to put if you put an ad out there for down payment assistance, we don't even advertise it. And the reason that we don't advertise it is because
Everybody.
people think down payment assistance, cool, I can have a 400 credit score and they'll be able to get me in. And that's not the way that
We've
it,
gotten it.
So we
No,
need to put
yeah,
a
you
disclaimer
laugh.
on the front door, if you are less than 640 credit, if you have no job,
Right.
if you have nothing, don't walk in this door.
and that, so it's really for people that
This
you're
isn't
like,
for the
okay,
free pizza.
maybe they've been pre-approved. Maybe you sent them to someone and they're like, yeah, they don't have the money yet. They need to save. Or they've told you, we need to save for a down payment. Those are the people that we want. Send them to us and let me see what we can do and see if we can get them into a house and see if their credit is teetering. Let's say they're a 600 or a 620 and we want to get them up to that 640. We've been able to successfully do that for we have a lot of buyers that are teetering right there between that 620, 640. And within a month to 90 days, we're able to get that credit score to pop up where we need it and close. So we're doing the rapid rescores. We're getting on and we're giving them the paperwork to remove their disputes and giving them the credit plan that says this is what you need to do. Literally, it's step by step. Anybody can do it. We break it down to the littlest. Pay this card down to $100. Pay this card down to $25. Pay this off. Do not close this account. So just trying to get them to pop up to where we need them to be so we can close them.
Is your monthly seminar Zoom? Is it-
Yes.
Okay, so maybe we can look at that with our database. I'm
Yeah.
not sure how we can invite people into it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so piggyback.
And what we're doing, we're offering any clients that we're working with, if they take the home buyers class, and it's not a first time home buyers class, it's a home buyers class. We're giving them a $250 credit at closing.
And so this is something we'd almost market to our current database of buyers that are out there that have piggyback $150,000 to $300,000 purchase price.
Yep.
And then tag them on there.
What were you asking?
That's something else.
You have a question?
I have a client right now in Texas. I just want to know how I could get y'all connected.
Just give her my number.
Just literally take a picture of this and send it to her.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if I'm
April.
in
Just
the
take a
right
picture of
thing
this and
about
send it to
here,
her.
but so obviously right now what's winning offers is providing an appraisal that or something, if they qualify for this and this frees up some of their funds to be able to put towards appraisal, is that okay
Yes.
too? Okay,
Yes.
so that's another way to get creative with offers then.
Yes.
Is there a limit on like how long they have to live in the home?
Now, if they sell it within 2
Yeah.
years, then they gotta pay it back sometimes.
They have to pay it back.
Yeah,
The money back?
Yeah,
Right.
if they sell it or refi within 3 years.
They have to pay it back.
after
But they
that,
have to pay all of it back.
Yeah, when they sell or refinance, so they have to make, if they're doing the soft second, every other program, they have to pay back if they sell it. The soft second is the only one that's kind of, if they're gonna live there for 3 years and they make on-time payments, and I specify on-time payments for 3 years, 36 consecutive months, at the end of that 36 payment, once they make that payment, that loan is forgiven. They'll never have to pay it back. But if in that interim, they are late 1 month, that 36 months starts over again. And they have to make 36 months on-time payments, and then that loan is forgiven. If they sell or refinance during that time, same thing, yeah. It'll just be rolled into their refinance, or when they sell, they have to pay it back.
And then we have them reach out to you, or if they've already talked to you or Darlene, get them in contact?
Yeah, so if it's somebody that's going to, that's a good question. So even if they're working with us and we find out that their best avenue is to do Cheona, then I'm gonna have Cindy
Send it
handle it.
over for that would be our contact.
Yep.
Okay.
and it's not accounting specific. Okay.
Nope.
And so I just, for example, I'm a buyer, I just sold my house and I wanna go buy another one, can I use the program, or does it have to be like a 3-year gap between owning?
You don't have to be a first-time home buyer.
Okay, so it's not just a first time buyer, I mean,
No.
the market is that, but it doesn't have to be.
Right.
Okay.
Does it have to be a primary?
Yes.
Let's go buy some investments, come on.
Just asking.
Yes, it does.
I like that.
Good question.
You would be surprised. They're like second home purchase. I'm like, no, that's
That's
not
what
how
I'm
it
like.
works.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
At the beach house without payment
That's
assistance. If I can find one for 300.
Yeah.
All right, you guys,
I could take it.
you guys have any more
Yes, there you
questions? You guys wanna talk about ribbon a little bit?
All right.
Yeah,
All right.
Oh, us? Okay.
You guys wanna do
I
it?
thought you wanted to talk about
I know, I thought you wanted to do
You were
ribbon.
so excited about
All
it.
right, I'll do it.
We'll fill in the gaps. You start.
Yeah.
You correct me, how about that? Okay, so, we got a first client under contract this week on the ribbon. So I think most of you have heard of ribbon. Has anybody not heard of ribbon yet? Okay, so ribbon basically backs your buyers with cash. So there's 2 things that are gonna be added onto the offer. Number 1, no financing contingency. Number 2, no appraisal contingency. Okay, so we take the 2 biggest hurdles out of the equation with ribbon. So what ribbon does is if you have a buyer and they find the house of their dreams and you know that there's gonna be multiple offers, and you know that you gotta come in super strong, and this is where you need to consider ribbon for the buyers. Okay, they're gonna take our pre-approval. We're one of the only preferred lenders that are working with ribbon. So this isn't something that every lender out there has access to. Ribbon has to accept the lender as a partner before they'll partner with them. So, and it's because, for good reason, they're gonna take our pre-approval and they're basing their whole money off of that. They're basing their backing off of our strong pre-approvals. So we need to, that's why we do a really good job with our pre-approvals. We wanna make sure it's tight. So if your buyer ends up using the ribbon program, and what ribbon will do is we'll back them and we'll tell the sellers that if they don't close for whatever reason, they can't get their financing, we're gonna buy the house with cash, period, end of story, okay? If the buyer uses this just as a backing and they end up closing on their loan, like they will, then the cost for the program is 1% of the sales price. But what Ribbon is going to do is they're gonna actually take 2% as a deposit from the clients up front. So during the escrow period, they're going to collect 2%, it's gonna be put in escrow. And then after we close on their loan, then Ribbon will refund 1% back.
So they collect that, or is that done through when you normally collect your
The
escrow?
title, I believe they collect it through the title.
So you do
Escrow.
2%, escrow, basically.
Yep,
Yes.
and that's in addition to whatever they're putting in escrow for the contract.
Additional.
So
Okay,
it's
so
10.
is any escrow? Can somebody confirm that?
What's that?
Do you know if Ribbon puts 50% of the purchase price in escrow? Is that correct, or?
That,
No, so I think the way your contract's written, it's written under, Brook Green as the buyer, and then Brook Green's putting the 5% escrow deposit down, but it's assignable to Ribbon.
Right.
As an addendum to the contract. So it's not Ribbon putting the deposit down. So if the 50% deposit was put down, it would be the buyer physically doing that.
Okay.
all right, so let me tell you about the first buyer that we have, because this is a perfect story to explain this to you guys. Contract price is $460. Ribbon does their own evaluation before they'll approve it. And their evaluation came out at a maximum of $430. So $30,000 short of what the buyers are paying for the property, which of course is pretty common these days, right? So what Ribbon required then is to verify that they had an additional $30,000 in assets to cover the gap. Okay, now Ribbon will guarantee it up to that $430. So here's the thing that I'm not 100% sure of, because again, this thing is like super hot off the presses, and we don't know all the ins and outs yet. We're learning as we go along with it. I don't know what's going to happen if the appraisal comes in less than $430, but Ribbon is still going to close on it. That I know. They'll still close. I just don't know what happens if they contact the seller has to drop it to that, that to bridge the gap. But I'll find out and let you guys know on that at the next, between now and the next meeting. But either way, the offer got accepted 100% because it was backed by the cash. That's what I'm told. Clients are now on the contract.
So this is kind of a tie-in. Can we use Ribbon to buy it and use down payment assistance to close it?
No, so Ribbon is conventional only.
Use everything.
Just gonna throw everything at it. Just throw it all in.
I mean, it's, why not? You're trying to get these first-time buyers and turn these first-time buyers into cash buyers, and then reclose it with the
Yeah, let's
DPA.
do a USDA loan too while we're at it.
Yeah. With the,
Yeah, a lot of times the Ribbon is gonna not be for your typical first-time home buyer.
Yeah.
Because they have to have that 2% in addition to their escrow up front.
You're looking
And
at
it's
the more.
conventional only.
okay.
Yeah, and that's the reason why it's conventional only, guys. I mean, the clients have to have some money to kind of back this and pay for the program, number one. Number two, if they don't close, let's say you're in the middle of the transaction and the client, this is a card payment, whatever, right? And we do a credit refresh at the end, and all of a sudden, a credit score is plummet 100 points, and you can't close. Ribbon's gonna buy the house. That's when you guys get paid, okay? So regardless of whether the client or Ribbon closes, you guys get paid your commission at closing. Ribbon then gives the client 6 months to remedy whatever caused them to not close, and then they're gonna buy the house from Ribbon, okay? Now, you don't get paid on that one, you only get paid on the first one, right? But if that happens, then Ribbon's gonna come in and close, the fee goes up at that point. So instead of 1%, now it's 2.75%, okay? But where we're seeing this used is two things, guys. Number one is the obvious, which is your buyers that have made offer after offer, only to get disappointed time and time again, competing against 51 offers like April's and ours client. This is a great option for them. If they find a dream home and you know that there's multiple offers coming in, then talk to us about the Ribbon. We get it done quick, right? Within 24 hours, we're getting Ribbon to review the property, and that way we're not holding up your offer. You're making the offer without the financing and the appraisal contingency.
What if those buyers after 6 months still didn't
That's a good question, Terry.
see?
They
That's
sell the
where it would
house.
benefit, because we would have gotten a commission. Now Ribbon's gonna come to us to sell
Possibly, yes.
it. Okay, so we don't want our buyers to
So you
actually.
just tell me to keep
No,
it
we
light,
don't. We
yes.
want it to
I like the way,
So
I
that
like the way.
2%, that's upfront. Say, the situation you just explained where it doesn't go through or whatever. They don't get that back.
No, Ribbon's gonna keep that and charge another 0.75%.
Plus another 0.75. And then if the loan goes through, it goes down to the 1%.
1%,
Okay.
that's right. And that's 95% of what you're gonna use it for. The only time where, you may, all right, so there's two incidents where you're gonna use the, ribbon money. Number one is, let's say you have a buyer who wants to sell their house and buy the new house, but they haven't even listed their house and they're not sure, but they found their dream home and they want to close on it. Well, this is where they might want to consider using the ribbon money to close cash, and then that gives them 6 months to sell their house and then buy it from ribbon. All right? So instead of holding up, because this whole timing thing, everybody knows you put your house for sale and somebody's going to probably pick up full price offer on it within 24 hours, but there's no guarantees, right? And so the timing can be difficult in that concerning that. So that's one option. The other option is if it's a true rescue deal. So let's say you're in the middle of a transaction and it blows up on you. The client bought a Cadillac or whatever, right?
Boat.
And now they don't qualify. Ribbon can come in and rescue the deal.
But why would they do that? Because they still have to get financing to cash them out.
Well, that's a good question because
Because we're guaranteeing they're going to,
Well,
They-
you just denied it because I bought a new car.
but that could be fixed.
Okay.
How long is it gonna take to fix it though?
So,
Would they still qualify? Could the wife refinance the car or the husband refinance the car into one of their names and let the other one? So it's all problem solving
okay.
at that point.
Yeah, and again, it's so new that we're not 100% sure of all the scenarios that would play into, but that's one of the levels that they have. It's a rescue program. They can close within 14 days paying cash for the property. So if you have a deal going south, that's where you need to reach out to us and let us see if ribbon might be an
There's a
option.
price tag with that one too. That one's 3.25%.
If they have to come in and
They're coming in
rescue
to save
afterwards.
Yeah, it's another half point.
Is
Oh,
this
yeah.
for primaries also?
Yeah, so this is only primary, only conventional.
Not beach house, down payment.
No.
Sounds really nice, doesn't it?
Now, so there's the 3 programs. There's the boost, which is 1%, so it's 2% upfront. The other 1% goes in their closing costs. That's how they'll get it back, is through closing costs. The second one is the reserve, which you're selling your house, but you love this house. So what they do is they purchase that house, they rent it back to you for up to 6 months.
Yeah, I like
And
that.
so it's whatever the price ends up being. They agree on the price, they pay it, they have 6 months to sell their house and then close on this one with us.
And then what do they do with the rent? So if we're a move-up buyer and we need to sell ours to buy the next one, so we go buy it with ribbon and then we're moving up, can we move into the house? Like, what is the rent
Yeah.
they're charging?
It's obviously case by case basis.
Yeah.
They haven't told us how they figure out that rent amount yet.
Okay.
But it's a set amount, and they did tell us that if you have that situation, they will give us all the numbers up front before the buyers agree to pay it.
Okay.
But they will rent it back for 6 months, but they have not given us that
Okay.
rent amount that they're gonna charge.
And will that rent go towards principal after you close?
Probably not. That's a carrying cost.
They're doing you a service
Yeah.
by buying this.
I think it's like as we, this part of the program, as we're diving into all this listing training, there's a shit ton of move up buyers out there that can't move up. And are not, move up like sellers. And this is another arsenal to put in your bag. Like, the house, the townhouse Laurence bought, they needed to buy and sell, and like, what's the best avenue for them? And then we connected on the townhouse, and like, okay, I just saw this place that you guys agreed for. They got a 45-day lease back, which again is hard to put together with most buyers. And it allowed them to go find a property. And they were gonna be scared if they got close to 30 to 60 days and they couldn't find something, because they were very limited in the inventory that was out there. Luckily the timing worked, it usually does work out, but hell, I got 6 months now to go find something.
Yeah.
So all of our sellers that are sitting on the fence that can't move up, now they can. So I think it's a great situation.
And there's a portal, like
But that's maybe you
portal that everybody can go in, so we'll get them pre-approved. Then we send their information, it's gonna be on a portal and a ribbon, that's when we connect the agent into it. So you guys can go inside this portal, you put in the address of whatever houses they're looking at. They do suggest you put in all the addresses because that gives them time then, because they're going to do their own due diligence to look to see what they are willing to offer. So you'll have a max ribbon cash offer. So like for the one Laurence was talking about, they said 430 was what they will go up to in cash for that particular home. So they'll look at every particular home you have on there and give a max cash value for it. So that way you know, hey, we can offer up to 430.
So all we have to do is put in an address and like the other programs where you have to upload all the
Nope,
pictures.
nope,
and-
just the
Put
address.
in an address and they go in, it takes like 24 hours, I think is where they're at right now, to
Is
allow
the
them
site
to
on
look at it.
No.
No, that's,
Ribbon.com is the site.
Yeah.
Can we sign our agents up without being
Yeah.
associated with a client?
yeah, we.
Okay, so I'll send all of you guys an invitation to sign up with Ribbon, and that way you're in the portal, all right?
And then you can look around, there's a lot of
Yeah.
stuff.
Do we have to be certified with Ribbon to do it?
No, that's it.
Because you guys are.
Just
That's
gotta get
us.
signed up, there's no classes you have to take.
Yeah, because I know like not, we had to go not certified and
Right.
stuff, and I haven't gotten Ribbon certified, so I didn't know.
Now, we had a property that wasn't eligible last week, it was up in Deltona.
Okay.
So they go by certain MSAs.
Metropolitan areas. We're trying to get a map. So we're trying to see if they'll get us some kind of interactive map where you can just put the address in to see if it qualifies. But normally, Central Florida,
Okay.
we're gonna be okay. It's when you get into the outskirts, DeLand, Deltona, stuff like that. That's when they're like, we don't really wanna do it.
Is there a certain demographic up there of house they're trying to look at? We mean like subdivisions versus like Deltona Lakes is just sporadic little lots, spot lots, but you have neighborhoods in the land and stuff.
I think it's proximity to the city
Okay.
is how they're doing it right now.
Yeah,
See, then you
and,
put the address in, if they're not gonna do it, they'll tell you,
Okay.
doesn't qualify.
and we can do condos, townhomes, single family.
No manufacturer, no.
No
You're gonna hear this a
If we
lot.
took the wheels off and removed the license
No
plates.
log cabins.
Yeah, and it can't be more than 4 acres, right?
And their max is, their minimum is 150 and their max is $1 million.
When you're writing offers, you write it as conventional.
No, you're right, it's cash.
Oh, you do write it as cash? Yeah. I thought it was just removing the financing contingency because it would be bad.
Conventional is an addendum.
That's why.
You just- Great.
How did you write yours?
I didn't,
How did your agent write it?
that I don't.
I want
I'll look
to
and
get
see.
because
Contract, the job is Friday.
You can find out how that's going.
Yeah, he has
Out there.
There's an addendum, I know that. So I'll
Yes.
send you guys the addendum. That I think goes with the offer. And I think that's what you fill out, that basically says, this is cash. We are backing this with cash. So I don't know if it's actually a cash offer or if it's backed by cash, but whatever it is.
But the buyer's the buyer, not cash.
I have it on.
Where's the buyer?
The buyer's the buyer.
Buyers are.
The buyer's the buyer
And
name.
then it's the
It's
addendum.
under-
Right.
Gotcha.
So if the buyer
So we
decides
check
no,
that
and
based
maybe
on
that's
size of box.
Yes, and waivers, financial contingency, waivers of appraisal contingency, backup contract and effect, transaction fee. Yeah, I'll send it.
it's the one you sent me last week.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Cool.
All right.
I
think that's it.
I have a question. So let's say they do that and their offer is accepted and then they find out that the amount that was accepted was doable for them to do conventional. Instead of paying, what, 1.75%?
1%.
2.75?
If they were
So-
just, if it was just backed
Would
up, it's
they-
1%. They
then
would not, they
lose
still owe that
1%.
1%.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's due at closing?
Yeah, and that's only if they close.
Mhm.
Now, one thing I will tell you is they want a copy of the home inspection. The home inspection can be any home inspector. It's not like they have a list of approved home inspectors. But they're gonna look at that home inspection and there's certain things that they won't accept, right? And what is it, you girls know? Like old roofs
We haven't
or,
gotten that far yet.
The roofs.
yeah, I'm assuming
Yeah,
the roof is.
roof is
the big
They're
thing
killing
in there.
Well, some of the properties we're selling, we're getting roofs replaced, so if we do an inspection and get a roof replacement agreed, will they continue with that?
If it's done before closing,
Okay.
yeah.
I was saying, because we've got some that are being done within 30 days after closing, but that doesn't count. Because of insurance, whatever, okay.
Yep.
So whatever the repairs are, they have to be done before closing if they're gonna continue forward.
Yeah, if Ribbon requests it.
Yeah,
Is Ribbon requesting an appraisal since they do their own?
They do the desktop, right?
I thought it was just.
Yeah.
What if we get an appraisal inspection waiver?
Good on you.
I don't know, we got to find out. Sometimes, and it doesn't happen often these days.
But there is no, yeah.
Well, you're running it to you, I mean, you're still running it automated underwriting. Sometimes when you run a loan through automated underwriting, it actually will give us what's called an appraisal inspection waiver, which means we don't need to get an appraisal done. It means it accepts the value for what the sales price is. So I don't know how that's gonna work with Ribbon, but
Probably the same thing when they're giving you the max cash value.
you would think Ribbon would be good with that because they don't want the appraisal to come in too low.
Yeah.
You know, they're guaranteeing a certain amount. So-
Why is Ribbon partnering with you guys? And I mean, I've seen a couple of lenders, they were like, oh my God, you got the greatest thing since sliced bread. And they're like starting to talk about it. I'm like, yeah, it's been around for a while, but they just started partnering with lenders. So why are they doing that?
Because of our pre-approvals, we've got a reputation for having one of the strongest
I mean,
pre-approvals.
I guess why local lenders? Why aren't, because it used to be if we were using Ribbon, we had to go through Ribbon Mortgage.
Right, right. I think they're just expanding out with this market right now. They're looking to reach as many people as possible because they know how competitive it is. And so,
It's the perfect time for them to spring.
yeah, it's perfect timing for this program, really. You guys want to hear what rates are?
Sure.
Are you sure?
You have a
Just say no.
All right, we're creeping up into the fives right now, so 30-year fixed with really good credit, probably at around 5.25 right now.
Another half point from last week.
Yep.
And they were saying rates are gonna go.
The best interest rates right now, believe it or not, jumbo loans. So our jumbo is down close to 4%.
It's still more than they thought.
647,200 is the conventional loan amount, loan limit. So if you go above that, then it's considered a jumbo loan. Now, our jumbo investor will go to 95% loan to value. So if you find somebody that's buying an $850,000, $900,000 house, we can put 5% down, right? But I think the loan limit on that might be 750 though. So
And it has credit score.
yeah, and there's 720 credits.
So
It's a tighter program for sure, but it's a great program.
strategy would be if the max, what's the max loan amount on jumbo?
647,200.
647,200, so mine is 750. I put my 75 grand down to hit that number, whatever it equates out to. But I really want to put 300 down. And so, yeah, but if I put 300 down, I'm in a conventional program where I'm going to be 5.25. So put the 5% down or 75,000, and then if I take my other 250 that I have in cash, can I close the deal, send the bank the 250, and we cash the mortgage?
With our consent,
Yeah.
yes. Because that would go into the early payoff. And
Yeah.
nothing sucks more than an early payoff when you're a mortgage lender. Right?
So wait 6 months?
6 months,
or-
6
Well, wait
payments.
till we tell you,
Yeah.
because it depends on the investors now. We're telling people a year. So like, let's say you have somebody that wants to buy a house and flip it. We're not gonna do the financing for that unless they're gonna hold it for a year. Okay, because if they buy it, they flip it, whatever commission we earn on that loan, we have to pay it 100% of that.
Yeah.
So it'd be like you guys selling the house, getting paid $15,000, and then you got a bill for $15,000 a few months later. So we're really careful about working with clients that we know are gonna flip things, or they wanna pay it off, they're gonna sell their house, they're gonna pay this mortgage off, or even a large principal reduction payment as well. We just have to make sure that we protect ourselves in that. We'll go over that with the clients, and we go word of honor. And if they say, yep, we'll wait, then we will get the loan done. Some of them haven't. I've had to pay back some big chunks this past year. It sucks, but yeah, we can.
So,
That's where. So to answer your question, because this is a good question. There's a lot of creativity going on right now with financing, right? Whether it's using Cheona, whether it's trying to convince somebody to go with the jumbo because the interest rates are better, or whether it's, they're going to sell their house and pay it back later, whatever the situation is. The main thing, guys, is to know this: even with the rates being in the fives, historically they're still great. Okay.
Yeah.
And what we're telling people right now is look at the payment. If the payment works for your budget, then lock the rate in and get it done. Don't float. Don't wait. Okay. The rates have gone like this.
they're not gonna all of a sudden do this, right? Until the government gets inflation under control, until, you know, the Feds stop talking about raising rates again and again, then they're gonna continue to go up, period. We might be into the sixes by the end of this year. It wouldn't shock me, okay? So lock it in, and then when the rates do come back down, which they will, okay? It might be a couple years, we might need a different administration, who knows? And not to make it political at all, but whatever changes that happen in this country, the rates will come back down and then we can refinance them. All right, so I got clients that are the client that's doing the ribbon program is putting 5% down. He freaked out when we told him where the rates were. But then I talked him off the ledge because he's good with the payment. And he's putting 5% down, which means he's paying what?
Higher than what he was planning on.
Well, no, he's paying, that and he's paying mortgage insurance, right?
Yeah.
So that's a perfect opportunity in about 2 years to get rid of his mortgage insurance and lower his rate to the rates come down. All right, so that's a conversation we're having with consult rates.
Did you follow Eric Berry, the beat?
Yeah.
Yeah, his podcast last week, he said that exact same stuff. Like, just wait, rates are gonna come back down, buy the house, don't worry about what the rate is, just buy it and then refinance it in like a year.
But your lock has to be after contract.
Yes. Yep, so the day we go under contract, we're calling clients that day and tell them, hey, market this. We're always gonna offer what we call a par rate, which is the rate with no points. And then we're gonna buy the rate down and show them that option as well. Again, I'm not encouraging people to buy the rate down because if they're gonna spend all that money, once that money's spent, yeah, if they go from 5.25% to 4.875, but then a year from now, the rates are back down to 3.5%, well, that's $4,000 or $5,000 they just wasted to buy the rate down. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Are they seeing the jumbo loans going up as far as the loan amounts? So they,
Yeah, I mean, like we've got one right now that I think was up around 2.5 million. That's probably what most of our investors are capped out on the jumbos.
Okay.
So anywhere from 647 to 2.5 is our jumbo range.
cool. Well, guys, I appreciate you guys' long meeting, but wow, this last part was great. That you know was awesome for more about it. So, thank you.
If you guys need Cindy's contact or Amanda, just let me know. I'll forward it to you guys.
It's on the flyer.
All right, cool. All right, thank you guys.
Go back to
So, jumbo, I'm not familiar with jumbo. Jumbo and I know, but I can't remember where it's going to go.
Yeah, so jumbo is.
Right.
So it's bigger.
Jumbo, sure, that's what you said first.
So it's bigger than. Oh,
Right.
So I'm like, it's not cool.
Right.
So I'm like, so are you dealing with?
balloon is where, like, this was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe it's 10 years.
You get lots of middleman, like Scott Rock. You see Mike's turn
So
it
you
down.
go hire somebody,
Yeah.
turn it over to them, so they all turn it into